You've worked at some brands. You were known as the e-commerce guy. You started on Amazon.
I'd seen Dude Wipes on Shark Tank. It was like the feather in his cap from Shark Tank. And I was like, absolutely, hell yes, I'll come help these boys scale. We've built a brand that says something about you, that's humorous, that talks about the things that big CPG can't. So like we will talk about poop.
Every brand in the world needs to be a direct-to-consumer brand. That doesn't mean that you need to exclusively sell online, but that is where you have that opportunity to do that storytelling, to create that connection with the customer.
That's very much the philosophy of the brand. It's like, even when we spend against marketing, it's like, let's grow the brand and not judge the consumer for where they buy.
Give us the secrets behind the scaled success.
Yeah, big secret is scared money don't make money.
Welcome back to another episode of the Brilliant Commerce Podcast, where I get an opportunity to sit down with really, truly some of the brightest minds in commerce behind today's iconic, or as I like to say, next to be iconic brands. And I think right off the bat, Dude Wipes is easily, for me, one of those, if not already iconic brands, right on the precipice of getting into that category, that unofficial category. Joining me today is Joey Thomas, VP at Dude Wipes. So Joey, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Pumped to be here.
Where am I finding you today?
I'm up in New York City. I live in Dallas.
Okay.
But been working from New York the last couple months. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You picked a warm time to be in New York.
I know, right? But today it's 31 and the sun might.
Nice. Oh, warm. Oh, holy, it's a heat wave.
The city's in a good mood today. So
yeah,
for sure.
Is it, over the weekend, I was with someone who's from Dallas, and he's saying like, it's freezing in Dallas right now. So it just seems like that whole part of the country is a little bit chilly.
We had our little snow apocalypse or disaster a week and a half ago, where the city freezes. It gets down below freezing and snowfall and everything shuts down. But it's warm. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. How do you like the sort of the difference? Like I was in New York for sort of 6 years, and I think like for the era that I was there, that sort of felt like the epicenter of direct to consumer. Certainly, an awful lot of commerce still runs through New York. Yeah. Being there today and over the last little while, is that still true, or is it sort of like commerce gone everywhere?
No, absolutely. Every time I go to dinner or a happy hour, there's a bunch of brands there represented, and you're like, oh, I'm the founder of Tapachi, or I'm the founder of this, So it's interesting just to be in a space where like everybody's talking consumer and brand building, and everybody's touched a bunch of stuff, and it's such a small world at the end of the day.
It is such a small world. Yeah. And I like it too. I've always found it like it's quite helpful. Whereas, even if you're a quasi competitor, I think a lot of times, like I'll host dinners sometimes with commerce leaders, and we'll get around a table and people are willing to share. It's like, yeah, this is hard, and I've tried this, and this is working, and what are you doing? There's like a genuine curiosity, and we're all kind of in it together mindset. I think in commerce generally, but certainly in New York, it's one of my favorite parts about just living there and sort of being in the industry.
Yeah, we've all got the same war stories. So it's like we've all battled the same battles, between like mass or club or e-com. And so it's nice to like have the camaraderie and share with each other like, oh yeah, that went wrong for me too, So
yeah, it's nice. Like, let's be honest about it. Yeah, like everything's easy. And then you're like, you 10 minutes into dinner, you're like, remember when I said it was easy? Well, like this thing was super hard. Yeah, exactly. But now I know you. Now I can be honest. Well, like speaking about those sort of like shared war stories. So you're at Dude Wipes today, but you've had a really amazing career. Maybe take a couple of minutes and tell us like, what got you to Dude Wipes? Where have you been? And what's exciting about the brand today?
Appreciate it. So much of my career is like right place, right time. Like I, out of school, went to big CPG. So I went to work for 3M. They make anything scratchy or sticky. So think like sandpaper, tape, bunch of consumer facing brands. I focused on one called McGuire's. It was like a car wax brand, super premium car in California. Based in SoCal, not far from where you are, covering Latin America as my sales territory. So selling to distributors in Central and in South America. They asked me to move up to Seattle, and then in 2010, 2011, needed some support for Amazon, and I was just in the right place at the right time. So sort of built a career in e-commerce from there. Went to work for the French, BIC, BIC, lighter, pen, razor, big French family-owned business.
Yeah, also iconic for sure.
Iconic, but had grown up like big mass concentration. So in a supply store, and needed somebody to sort of like understand e-com. And back then I was like the young goat on the team. So like, hey, you ever sold to Amazon? And so got to like grow that business and scale that business, which was easy to scale because you take a household name and you put it on the internet and everybody buys it. So
Yeah.
scaled that and then went to work for some fishermen brand called Wild Planet. It's like a really expensive
Yeah.
tuna.
Yeah. That's my go-to tuna, dude.
Hey, you're one of my people. Pole and line caught, best tuna on the market. I'll dang it, but fourth in market share in the U.S. Think like Bumblebee, Chicken of the Sea, Star Kiss are sort of like the leaders. Those three together are like 3 billion in annual sales. And at the time when I joined Wild Planet, it was like sub 90 million. So tons of runway. Gotten some private equity. Private equity said you need somebody who knows e-commerce. Grew that and then helped them sell to a group in Italy called Bolton, which owns like the Star Kiss of Europe, called Rio Mare. And then met some guys from Dude Wipes in that process. And then I'd seen Dude Wipes on Shark Tank. Mark Cuban had invested in 2015. I was already a consumer of the brand, huge Mark fan. It was like the feather in his cap from Shark Tank. And I was like, absolutely, hell yes, I'll come help these boys scale. So joined them at the very end of 2021 and been riding ever since.
That's amazing. Okay, so for those that have not seen the brand yet, and who didn't see it on Shark Tank, and when you say Mark, you're obviously referring to Mark Cuban.
Yes.
What's the story of the brand? Give me the 2-minute version.
Yeah, and this is a true story. 3 of the smartest guys I've ever met. Living in Chicago, 2011, had the idea of like selling flushable wipes. We're using baby wipes because they had bad diets. Think like Chipotle, Taco Bell. So like.
It's like the best kept secret. We're using baby wipes, but no, we don't have babies.
It's great. But yeah, it's great when like founders like actually had a need and then they solved the need for themselves. First and foremost, and that's what they did. So started selling flushable wipes and like started selling them on the internet. I think Sean went to like a e-com incubator down in Austin, taught him how to sell stuff on Amazon. Went back to Chicago, made some listings. From 2012 to 2015, we're like, struggling for sure. Sean will tell you the war stories of like, living on 20 grand a year, working fast food jobs, and then made it onto Shark Tank, and Mark invested in the brand. That was great awareness for the brand, but the brand has always sort of grown up on the back of e-com. Amazon up until 2025 was the largest channel for the brand. Now, obviously, you can find it at mass, you can find it at grocery, you can find it at club.
Yeah, you got to be where your customers are.
Yeah, and that's very much the philosophy of the brand. It's like even when we spin against marketing, it's like let's grow the brand and not judge the consumer for where they buy. So we are not like a B2C brand. We don't try to force subscription. We sort of let you find us and then buy us where you want.
That's awesome. I mean, I love that story, and it's like, you might look at it and say like, well, Dude Wipes, overnight success. And what you're saying is, well, no, it was like actually early on, like they really believed in it. And like, they just kept grinding away, and you create a product and you create a brand and you create a following. And now I look at it and like, I mean, as I said, sort of as we were warming up here, like I think the brand personality is amazing.
Yeah.
And like, that's how you stand out. Like, yes, product great, differentiated for sure. But I think what really, for me, attracts me to the brand is the personality and the fact that you guys have decided to anchor it in humor, and you can see it in everything that you do, whether it's the copy on the PDP or the blog content. It's really awesome.
Appreciate it.
And I'm curious because sort of like listening to you talk about your career and ultimately what got you to Dude Wipes. You've worked at some brands. You were known as the e-commerce guy. You started on Amazon, and you imagine sort of like diversified over time. But there's a storytelling component. Even hearing you talk about like telling the story about like why the tuna is different, and like, yeah, like everything that is in the can is not the same thing. How important is storytelling to you as you think about, your ability to continue to be successful as the e-commerce guy?
Yeah, love it. Storytelling is everything when it comes to e-commerce. It's the beauty of a PDP, product detail page, versus a can of tuna. On a can, you can only say so much about the brand. And when the customer finds you at Whole Foods, how are you able to tell them that story?
Yeah.
You have to be really, really selective in what you say and don't say about the product. Online, you got a whole page, you got videos, you got pictures, you can really, really romance and tell the customer who you are. And I think the beauty of Dude Wipes is we want our customer to feel something when they buy us. The challenge with big CPG is like you don't feel much when you buy Cottonelle or you buy Charmin. It's too big. They have to go way too wide with their messaging. But when you're a disruptor or you're an incumbent, you're able to like make a customer feel something and express their identity by having your product in their household. And so that's where like whole fun of working on dude wipes is like having a pack of dude wipes on the back of your toilet says something about you as a
Yeah.
consumer, and we love that piece and we lean into that piece, and e-commerce is the best place for us to be able to do that.
I wrote down the following sentence of my notebook right here, like back of the toilet, because my next question for you, you read my mind, was, like, so thinking back to the origin story,
Yeah.
these guys were using baby wipes. I would imagine they did not have the baby wipes on the back of their toilet. But now you're almost making a statement. And I go into people's houses and it's like, cool, like dude wipes. And like they're proudly displayed.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because the product is really good? Or do you think it's because like you have this created a relationship and a connection with the customer where they're proud to sort of say like, this is on the back of my toilet and like, ask me about it, like, or something in between?
No, it's the latter for sure. It's the fact like we've built a brand that says something about you, that's humorous, that talks about the things that big CPG can't. So like we will talk about poop, we'll talk about crap, we'll say these things, in our marketing that big CPG can't. And that's why the consumer is proud to have it. I think it's also an advantage over toilet paper. You take a roll of toilet paper out of the pack, you throw it on a dispenser, you don't know what toilet paper it is.
Yeah.
You really have to be a toilet paper connoisseur to be like, oh, this is Charmin,
Yeah.
But with a pack of wipes on the back of your toilet, it's very evident like who you buy. And if you're going to buy private label Equate, it says something about you other than buying a like pack, So yeah, the product is better. The experience is better. But at the end of the day, like it's the brand that resonates so hard.
Yeah, it's like the thing that's going to be on the back of your toilet is a conversation starter for guests in your house. Like who would have thought? Like it's like, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's super cool. The next thing I wrote down was direct to consumer. And so you sort of said, as we were talking about this as well, that we're not a DTC brand, or we're not exclusively direct to consumer. I mean, across, like, it could be dude wipes or anything else that you've worked on. I often think today, obviously like 2025 to 2026, like I've been in commerce since the late 90s. I'm quite old. I don't remember a time where there was such a seismic shift in our approach to commerce and to tech and how we're talking to customers than 25 to 26. Like, it just feels like everything is sort of changing.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't changed my point of view that every brand in the world needs to be a direct-to-consumer brand. That doesn't mean that you need to exclusively sell online, but that is where you have that opportunity to do that storytelling, to create that connection with the customer, to understand like where they want you to be.
Yeah.
So as you have, moved from, okay, we're going to open up this channel called Amazon, and like that's going to be like our connection to customer. I'm just curious, like, do you agree with that statement that every brand needs to be D2C? And over your long career, how have you changed your point of view on what it means to be, call it digitally native or direct to consumer?
Yeah, I mean, we're for sure peers because I was in commerce in the early 2000s. So I'm 42 today.
Okay.
Yeah, for the first...
It's not a competition.
Yeah, for the big chunk, brands were obsessed with D2C. They wanted to own the consumer data. They wanted the email. They wanted the phone number.
Yeah.
They wanted to enroll them into these things and then drive subscription and get them to come back to the website. What I've over the last 4 years, like what struck me is like, why is the customer like coming to your website? So, if you were selling Q-tips, or if you were selling toothpaste, are you really expecting that customer to make an independent shopping experience to your website to buy that versus adding it to cart with everything else? So it's one thing. Yes. Do you absolutely need your website? 1,000% yes. And do I want to make commerce as easy as possible for you as a consumer? 1,000% yes. If you come to dudewipes.com today, like you'll see that I'm driving you to retail. So I'm driving you to retail.com with Micmac. You have the option of Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, Costco. And then I'm also with Stackline, I've got 1P Amazon integration. So the world has changed.
Yeah.
You can log into your Amazon account on my website. I can store your credential. I can store your email and your phone number so I can enroll you into, CRM. But you can still make your Amazon 1P purchase. So Amazon is going to be the fulfiller of that order, and it's going to there's a 1P order for me. And you don't have to leave my website to do it. So I find that when customers are coming to dudewipes.com, like they may be coming for humor, they may be coming for education around the wipes, they may be curious about the origin story, they may be price comping. They're likely buying wipes when they buy other things for their household. Absolutely want to make sure that I'm in mass, that I'm in club, that I'm on Amazon. Now I'm doing TikTok shop. Like I'm available for you wherever you shop. But yeah, there's the option to come to the website if you want to.
Yeah, so you're not fighting against that instinct of like they're going to, you have acknowledged that they're going to buy you with something else. but you've got them on their website. You're capturing that first party data.
Yes.
There's an opportunity as you guys are thinking about product innovation to email people about that and then make the checkout experience as frictionless as possible. Is that fair to say?
100%. And build community,
Build community.
You're probably curious about what we have to say. We're going to email you once a week and tell you things about poop, why your poop turns green, why you're constipated when you travel. Like we're happy to like interact with you in that way if you want to be a part of the community. So that's who I'm going to enroll in that when they come to the website.
I love that. I think like, again, like this goes back to you have a personality, you have a voice, an opportunity to reach out and talk to your customer where it's not, hey, we're 20% off this week, but instead something like you're giving them something that either like cracks them up or is like, oh yeah, I was wondering, I've been traveling a lot and I am constipated.
Right.
And like that, it just, I'm top of mind again.
Right.
And then it's a foregone conclusion that when I'm out of wipes, I'm gonna buy from you guys because you've created that connection with the customer. So it's like the product is better, but that I have that really that strength of customer. And to me, that's why you need to invest in building community. That's why you have to have a digital experience. Like that's where you're getting that first party data from customers. I think more than ever, that first party data and using it for the right reasons is going to be the difference between being that sort of iconic brand or being something that is around for a little while and disappears not long after and no one remembers.
Yeah, I could not agree more. You said the thing that resonates most with us these days is top of mind. We're big like Byron Sharp guys. So we all went to like his school on how brands grow. We all read the book. It's very much like the consumer is not as in love with you as you think that they are. They are, as Byron says, polyamorous. If you need a wipe, they're probably going to buy a wipe. If they go to Walmart to buy flushable wipes and they're already a consumer of flushable wipes, they're probably going to buy one, even if Dude Wipes isn't there. And we recognize that.
Yeah.
But how can I make sure that I'm top of mind when you are thinking of flushable wipes? So, that's very much the thing. It's like, okay, join my community so that when you are in the market for my product, you do think of me first. And maybe I'm not as replaceable as I would be otherwise.
Yeah, or that you tell someone about your experience. Like you introduce someone to the brand. I mean, that is one of the risks of, I would imagine, like creating a category. You didn't create the wipes category, but you introduced a new way of using wipes to like a whole new segment of the market. And so once you like convince them that that's a thing, how do you convince them that they need to keep buying that thing from you? And I think that's not just, you can't always be competing on price.
Yeah.
You can't always be innovating. Like there's a limit. Of course, like you want to introduce new products, but I think it comes back to community and come back to like, I'm going to automatically buy this brand because like, that's just how it works. Like I've got a great relationship with them. Why would I go anywhere else?
Agreed. And we're hyper consumed with like being focused. So it's like there were early days at Dude where we were tempted to become a men's grooming brand, where we were thinking through things like ball powder or body spray, deodorant, these things, because you're like, okay, we've scaled enough that maybe we could leverage the brand, but really there's so much more power in becoming category king of a very specific vertical. And so we're like, we cut all the noise and we went back to just being a butt wipe brand. And that makes it a lot easier for the consumer to know immediately who you are. If we were Dude products, and it's like, okay, now we got a deodorant and now we got a body lotion. Who are these guys?
But I get it's tempting. Like you've established that trust with a customer, especially anything you're going to put like on your body in like sensitive areas. Like you want to you want to trust the brand for sure. But that discipline is interesting. Yeah. Like I think discipline is another thing that we don't talk about enough. It's like, well, we're going to conquer every category, but should we?
Right. And big CPG, like they just throw their brand onto those things. So like there is a Cottonelle flushable wipe. There is a Charmin flushable wipe. Like they also play in these spaces, but they're not focused on it like we are. So that's how we're able to become king of that very specific vertical. So, we are the omni-channel like market share leader in flushable wipes today because of the focus.
Yeah, you focus on it, you've been disciplined. That's super cool. We talked about when we were chatting the other day, TikTok, and you sort of like shared some experiences that you were having there. And I think this like leads us maybe into channel expansion, but also sort of like how you measure how these channels are working together. As you're building community, a channel like TikTok Shop, which has really exploded over the last couple of years. How important is that for you guys? Like, how are you using that? Is it a customer acquisition play? Is it a community play? Is it just like top line revenue, or is it something else?
No, it's definitely customer acquisition. And it's definitely providing omni-channel lift for us. So like, to me, it meet the consumer where they are. It's, TikTok Shop, for perspective, TikTok Shop will do $30 billion in retail sales this year, up from 18. year, right? We launched on the platform in January 2024. So we've had 2 years to sort of like figure out 2024, 2025 to figure out how to like scale it and make it work. And I made all the geriatric millennial mistakes at the beginning. I approached it like Amazon and I thought, oh, I'll just spend on ads and drive customers to my TikTok shop PDP and make them convert. That's not how the TikTok shop consumer is behaving on the platform at all. They're being influenced by affiliates and by creators that they already follow. And so really it becomes like networking with those affiliates and creators. I got this great guy, Rico, that I made my broker. He's learned TikTok with me over the last 2 years. And he's tapped into what we're calling creator farms, where like you can find these like networked creators that will all publish content around your brand all at once. It's all for a commission. So that's the incentive that they're getting. Instead of ad spend, you're spending against these commission rates. But they're just an insane amount of trial of the brand and the product. And then like, on the other side, we're like, okay, well, the margin isn't amazing. It's FBT fulfilled by TikTok. Do Wipes a low price heavy commodity, so like we are like, we're $1 a pack and we're $3 a pack, so you're not going to make a lot of money shipping that around. But we're able to still like be margin neutral. And we see with Scintilla that like we got a massive lift happening at Walmart and on Amazon. So it's like, okay, that justifies like the spend that we're doing on TikTok that's benefiting the rest of the business.
Yeah. So that's interesting. The measurement there, or just the confidence to know that, because a lot of times when we think about traditional performance marketing, if we are not first purchase profitable, then we have to shut that channel down. But what you guys are realizing is that, okay, well, we can spend here. We're spending in a different way. We're spending against commission. We're acquiring those customers and we're seeing the lift in other channels. And so being able to measure that, and I think having the instinct to say like, well, let's keep our foot on the gas because, it is lifting, it's rising all boats across these different channels.
That part. We know that the brand is sticky. So I know we're a $100 million business on Amazon and we know we got a 64% repeat purchase rate. So if you buy me once, there's at least a 64% chance you're going to buy me again. And that's on Amazon. So you're probably buying me somewhere else too. So that gives me justification to say like, yeah, I've only got a 2% repeat purchase rate on TikTok shop. So 98% are like buying the brand for the first time on the platform, but they're going somewhere else and they're buying it. So I'm super happy with my sticky product to maybe not make a ton of margin on that first purchase, but knowing that the repeat's going to be there. I can trust that.
So what's your approach to data? Like what advice would you have for other brands that are scaling as quickly as you guys are scaling, that have that same like omni-channel piece? Are you hyper focused on attribution? Do you geek out over things like multi-touch attribution? Or are you thinking about this in more of a blended way? Do you have a gigantic data team? Give us the secrets behind the scaled success.
Yeah, big secret is scared money don't make money. So you got all these guys sitting around and they're like, should we do TikTok shop? Should we launch? I don't know. And you're like, all right, you're 2 years late. The way that I launched TikTok shop in January of 2024 doesn't work in February of 2026, So you sort of miss that window. And now you got to adapt because there's all these like winners and crushers that have joined the platform and figured it out, because they weren't. So no, we don't have a giant data team. Up until a year and a half ago, I was the e-commerce and club team for Dude. So, we very much like trust our gut and spend some money and then we wait and we watch. What I can tell you is like, I got a brand that's not scared. So I'm able to do things like go dark on Amazon against spend for 60 days and watch what happens, So just turn it all off and then just watch.
Cool.
What happens to my sales? That's a better metric than me watching ROAS and be like, okay, when I spend against branded, I'm making $17, but when I spend against non-branded, I'm making $3. How does it blend? Scared money don't make money. So end of the day, like, invest. Take the risk, which big CPG can't take the risk. Big CPG is afraid to have, if your Dude Wipes, you got 16,000 creators selling your product back shop all day, so they're afraid of that. They're afraid of what the creators will say and won't say about the brand. If you're Dude Wipes, you got to take some risk and take it on the chin. Go for it.
I see this. I like this idea of being able to, I think, again, like the landscape has changed very quickly and you've been a part of this too. Like performance marketing was very much, we're so surgical. We know exactly where our customers came from. We follow them around, like we cookied them on the internet. We just serve them ad after ad after ad. And then finally they gave up and they bought our product. Like that's not for me brand building. I think that era is kind of over and I'm happy about it. I like this idea of trusting your gut. Like we're going to make a big bet here. We're going to spend, we're going to see how it works. We're going to measure it, but you can't measure it in this way that is like hyper specific down to the pixel. You're sort of saying like, okay, we're investing here. Let's see how it's impacting all of our channels. And then we know our brand, we know our customers. Let's trust our gut. Let's measure and adjust. I think it's really good for people to hear that. And so you were the person who was doing that measurement. Now it sounds like the data team, you might have a resource that helps you now. Is that true?
We are large enough to like tap into like some help from like the Scintilla's Walmart engine.
Yeah.
They're able to like at least survey Walmart consumers and say, hey, where did you learn about dude wipes, and when did you buy us in store? So we saw there like a 40% transference happening. Like with Walmart consumers that learned about us on TikTok, 40% of them were buying us Walmart in store or and 17% were buying us on Amazon. And those are Walmart specific customers. So like that was a great data point. Now we're partnered up with WorkMagic. WorkMagic is sort of like who TikTok recommends to you in terms of like monitoring that data. So finding that omni-channel sort of like lift. And that's able to like actually give you like metrics and details of like what's happening to that TikTok consumer. How many times are they seeing your product? Where are they buying you? When are they clicking away? Are they buying you again? So like now you can validate it. But in the early days, like those platforms never launched with a bunch of data, much like Amazon didn't either.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talk about this sometimes. This the difference between being data driven and data informed. And I think sometimes having too much data almost results in paralysis. Like, geez, we did this A/B test. It's not actually conclusive, and so we're not going to do anything. But you're like, but one is better. Like, because it feels better to you, especially if you're a customer of the brand.
Yep.
And then I think being data informed, like we looked at the data, it's inconclusive, but we're going to go with our gut. Or we looked at the data and we think it's this, and so we're going to take a chance.
I agree.
I think I like brands that are courageous, and so for me, it's really inspiring to hear you say that you guys like you just try.
Thanks.
And you put some money behind it. You got to make these bets. That's how you go from selling nothing to selling a ton and having like that following. I'm going to run us out of time because I'm a fan of the brand. I do want to talk about this new emerging channel. I'm already exhausted talking about it, but we're going to go there anyways. And you said, you sort of made all of the mistakes to make when these new channels pop, like TikTok.
Yeah.
Agentic shopping is getting a ton of buzz right now. I think about it as another channel, but maybe a channel where we have even less control over how the brand shows up, because it's never been our four walls, but with the agents are harder to control than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Are you thinking about this channel yet? And if so, like, how are you thinking strategically about doing a lot of the things that have made you successful to date, like trusting your gut and trying it and seeing what happens and then measuring it?
Yeah, we want to be, I am thinking about it. You want to be ahead of big CPG. I'd say like they sort of give you like a guaranteed window. Maybe that's presumptuous, but you typically have 12 to 18 months until they're like reactive to these things. If you'd asked me, a year ago, like I would have said the future is social commerce. Like the future is, TikTok Shop. It's these affiliates that are selling to consumers. And now it's like, oh shit, maybe the future is ChatGPT. Like maybe it's these, it's these AI platforms that are going to like recommend product and build carts. And now you've got Amazon rolling out Alexa Plus across all their devices. So that's going to have a massive impact on like what's being recommended. I'd say like that's where like, the early steps for us are like making sure our SEO is optimized, like making sure we're saying the right things about the brand in the right places and enough about the brand. There's I think it's called Neptune, but there's somebody who runs Neptune gave me this advice and was like, hey, listen, 70% of ChatGPT's information is actually coming from Reddit.
Reddit.
So many mistakes, but they're able to like pad Reddit with a lot of information about your brand early on. So when chat goes to like pool that data, you're able to be like, all right, flushable wipe. Yeah, Dude Wipes is a category leader. It's the one that's most trusted. They have these different flavors. So we are like investigating that to see like how we can do that tangibly. When I first got nervous, like maybe like 8 months ago, I was going into ChatGPT and having other people on the team like going to ChatGPT and be like, I really love Dude Wipes. So you'd be like trying to like preemptively do this kind of stuff. But I feel like it will like evolve over time. I'm sure there will be like more offerings, but at Dude, it's just important for us to like be ahead and be courageous and be willing to take the first step.
Yeah. It's funny, hearing you talk about that, like content here sort of feels like 15 years ago with SEO, and like we're creating all this shadow content and backlinks and we're figuring out how it ultimately works. So it's like the willingness to experiment.
Yeah. Same thing. And I will feel like again, but with AI.
Yeah. Well, but still rooted in like be where your customers are. So if your customers are shopping with Alexa Plus or with ChatGPT, how do we make sure that the brand is showing up and that it is ultimately relevant? Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, what about like leave us? You already so much wisdom, but I'm not all that excited about AI, like agentic shopping, truly. I'm a consumer. I like to shop. I like to read content. Maybe it can make the easy stuff easy for me. That's totally fine. I am really excited about what I'm calling agentic ops for brands on the back office. Like, how can we use AI in ways that allow us to have the type of leverage that a huge CPG company has, that has a bigger balance sheet than we have, and ultimately more headcount.
Yeah.
Just curious how you and the team are thinking about that. Have you managed to find any tools or techniques or the way that you're using AI that you're like, holy shit, we can do way more than we've ever been able to do before?
I'd say, yeah. I mean, small teams can do amazing things. I was like in the first, 10 people at Dude Wipe. So it's like, and we were able to scale to maybe a $200 million business before we added the 13th person, so it's like small teams can do a lot. I think like it's about focus. So that's what's helped you the most, more than like AI tools that we've plugged into. But I'd say like, even on things like on TikTok Shop, you've got Yuka, which is EUKA. It's a way that like you can send like DMs, I think 1,500 creators a day. So like when you're like building these armies of creators, it'd be a lot more expensive to hire a person and have them send, custom DMs to a bunch of creators. At some point, like you need like an outreach piece, which Yuka is sort of like doing. And then you just respond to the incoming messages. So that's an alleviation, like just for your brand team. I'd say like, like when it comes to like questions that are being asked on the platform, there's some AI tools there. But dude, we're pretty passionate about like interacting with our consumers. So we're not going to have like AI troll in the comments. Like it's going to be Sean in the comments. It's actually like our CEO who's sitting there, trolling Wendy's or trolling Tabasco or whoever, So we're passionate about like making sure that we are the actual humans that are speaking to you when you like talk to us as a brand. I think like now it's really about like the data mining piece that like, there's a couple people that do that are like hyper focused on like, how do we integrate AI both into like, into our forecasting. So like from a, what POs should we expect, down to like all the data that's coming in, whether it's like POS data or gross sales data, and how that impacts like future forecasts and production and that kind of thing. That's way over my pay scale, and they wouldn't make me be the guy to do that. But we are like looking into that stuff.
That's so cool. I love this idea that, you are a product that would be very easy for you to think about, like, oh yeah, just buy us here and use AI to do it. A commodity, but not a commodity. Like you're a brand behind an amazing product, and hearing that the founders want to be in there, like you want to maintain that connection with the customer, but you're being really thoughtful about how you're using the tools. And I think like that's ultimately the thing that's really exciting, is how can we use these tools, whether it's AI or something else, to make the humans in the loop even more efficient, so you can do the things that you love to do.
Yeah.
Like I love to talk to our customers. I love to troll these brands.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your customers love watching the founders troll the brands. So
yeah.
I think that's an amazing place to kind of wrap us up here. Exactly what I was expecting, like really inspirational story behind the brand. I can see it just with your energy and the look on your face. And so thank you so much for coming on today and being super honest and talking about what's working and what you guys are excited about. Huge fan of the brand. I'll leave us there, and definitely cheering you on. So Joey, thanks a ton.
Dude, we're a big fan of your podcast. So thanks for having me.
Oh, it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, boss.